Sometimes in life, we meet someone who changes everything, not because they stay forever, but because their presence teaches us how to love, how to grow, and how to let go gracefully. There was a girl who once said she loved me. At that moment, I believe life had finally given me something pure and lasting. We shared laughter, long talks, and dreams that felt endless. But as time passed, the paths we chose began to drift apart, little by little, in ways we couldn't fully understand. Life has its own rhythm. Before I could realize what was happening, she had walked into another chapter, one that no longer included me. The girl who once said she loved me eventually married someone else. At first, I didn't know how to react. There wasn't anger, not even heartbreak in the way I expected. It was more like standing still in the middle of a quiet street, watching a train leave the station, knowing you were never meant to be on that journey. People often say time heals all wounds, but time doesn't heal if we don't choose to. So instead of clinging to sadness, I asked myself a question. What if this isn't the end? What if this is simply the start of me becoming someone better? That thought changed everything. I decided to focus on growth, to rebuild my life, not around what I lost, but around what I could become. In time, I became a doctor, not because I wanted to impress her, but because I discovered how much I cared about helping people. Still, after a long shift, I'd think of her, not with longing, but with gratitude. I had once bought an apartment near where she lived, not to follow her, but to be near a memory that reminded me who I was before life grew complicated. Some memories don't fade because they aren't meant to. They stay, quietly shaping who we become. Seeing her from a distance, smiling beside her husband, I felt something unexpected. Peace. There was no jealousy, no regret, only the soft recognition that love, in its purest form, isn't about possession. It's about wishing happiness for the person who once made you believe in something good. And maybe that's what growing up really means. Sometimes, life doesn't give us the ending we want, but it gives us the lesson we need. That's when the story begins to change, not in the world around us, but within ourselves. One afternoon, as I was reviewing a patient's chart, I received a call that brought back a familiar name. It was her, the girl who once said she loved me. Her voice was calm, but carried a tremor of worry. Her husband had fallen ill, and she needed advice, maybe help, maybe just a friend to listen. In that moment, I felt time pause. Old memories flickered for a second, but I quickly returned to the present. This wasn't the past coming back. It was life giving me a chance to do the right thing. I listened carefully, reassured her, and promised to do everything I could. I realized how much I had changed. The old version of me might have felt overwhelmed by emotion, caught between what was and what could have been. But now, I simply felt calm, not because I didn't care, but because caring no longer meant losing myself. When she came to see me at the hospital, it was as if time had folded in on itself. She stood there visibly worried. Her husband had been admitted for treatment, and she was seeking guidance, comfort, maybe even reassurance that everything would be okay. I greeted her not as someone from the past, but as a doctor, a friend, and perhaps most importantly, as someone who understood the quiet storms that life can bring. As I examined her husband's condition, I focused on what I had promised myself years ago, to use what I've learned to help others, no matter who they were. Every decision, every word I spoke, carried the weight of both professional duty and quiet humanity. She stayed beside her husband's bedside often, and in those moments, I could see the depth of her care. And it was in watching her devotion that I understood something profound. Love, when true, is selfless. It asks nothing in return. It simply gives. Life had given me a chance to prove that love can exist even without possession, that kindness can live where longing once did. As her husband's health improved, I felt a calm satisfaction growing within me. I wasn't just helping a patient. I was also closing a circle. When the day finally came for him to be discharged, she smiled, a smile that carried both gratitude and relief. I saw the reflection of our past not as a wound, but as something quietly beautiful. It's the moment you can look at what once hurt and feel only gratitude. I thought about how love, in its purest form, doesn't always mean staying together. Sometimes it means learning to love someone enough to wish them happiness, even when that happiness doesn't include you. And maybe that's what maturity really is. Not losing your emotions, but learning how to guide them toward kindness. Every person we meet plays a role in shaping who we become. Some stay, some go, but all leave lessons behind. And in those lessons, we find ourselves stronger, wiser, and a little more whole. The girl who once said she loved me taught me to feel, dream, and believe in connection. Her absence, though painful, taught me strength, how to stand alone, let go with grace, and find meaning in kindness. I once thought happiness came from being loved, but I've learned it begins when we wish others well, even from afar. As a doctor, I've seen that healing isn't forgetting. It's remembering differently. Love doesn't vanish. It transforms into gratitude, peace, and quiet understanding. We can't rewrite the past, but we can rewrite its meaning. The ability to love with kindness, without expectation or fear. That kind of love never fades. It becomes light, guiding us gently, even after the story ends.